make sure you have a pen and a notebook because it's time to talk about the Magician card. Hi, this is Harold and welcome to the Sanctum. The Sanctum is a channel dedicated to learning and exploring the ancient teachings of the East and West. And a quick reminder, if you're watching this video before the 1st of August 2022, I'm offering free sessions online, and you can book your free session by following the link in the description box below or on the screen in front of you. Now, I've already started making my series on tarot a couple of years ago. However, I stopped doing it. But I decided to carry on because a lot of you have decided to email me and message me asking me to continue the series. So I decided to continue the series. So let's begin.
Okay, so let's take a look at the Magician. So now, looking at this card, this is the Magician from the Rider Waite deck. You can see that if you're going to analyze the tarot and look at the cards in the tarot, it's important to compare the cards with some of the other cards because they are linked in a certain way. So, for example, especially when looking at the major arcana, every card has a sense of their opposite. So in some ways, some cards come in pairs, right? So there are 22 major arcana, and they fall into 11 contrasting pairs, right? And the first pair is, of course, the Fool and the Magician, right? So first of all, you can see that they are in fact two opposite types of human beings. You know, the one is a fool, and the other one is a magician, a wise individual, a wise person in that way. So you can immediately see that they're two opposing two opposing polarities in some way. The Fool is 0, and the Magician, as you can see here, is 1, right? The 0 and the 1, right? So the 1 symbolizes a beginning of something, whereas the 0 is that which is before the beginning. But it's not nothing. It's absolute unity. It's pure. It's absolute unity. It's pure potentiality. That which the 1 resides and comes from. Right? The 0 and the 1. It goes back even to binary. Right? It's all zeros and ones. Okay. So you can immediately see that the two are connected in some ways, is that they're opposite. Okay. So you can even see that in terms of the Magician, if the Fool is related to the Hebrew letter Aleph, the Magician is the Hebrew letter Bet, and Bet means house. In English, each Hebrew letter can correspond with a certain word. It can mean a certain word in English. And the Hebrew letter Bet means a house, whereas the Hebrew letter Aleph means a bull, right? So immediately, a bull is something that was used at the time and is currently as well to carry out agricultural activity outside, whereas a house is now talking about their inside. So once again, there's a sense of opposite, of outer and inner going on here, right? So you can even see that the two are connected because the Magician, even if you look at the position of the Magician's body, it's forming the shape of the Hebrew letter Aleph. So in that way, you can even say that the pure potentiality of the Fool is being channeled by the Magician to carry out the Magician's divine direction of will, using the forces that the Magician has to use, which is in this case the 4 elements, which is there on the Magician's altar. This is the altar in front of the Magician, which is the 4 suits of the tarot, which is the pentacle, which is or discs or coins, depending on what deck you're using. And the coin, or in this case, the pentacle, is related to the element of earth. The cup is related to the element of water. The sword is related to the element of air. And the wand over here is related to the element of fire. So you can see that this can also be called a rod in certain dishes. So they're either rods or wands, sometimes even staves. So these are the 4 elements which the magician has mastered. Okay, and if you look at some of the other videos in my channel, I talk a lot about the elements, because these elements are present not just externally but also internally within ourselves, and it's a key aspect of developing inner power is to master those elements within ourselves. Okay. So if you were to compare the magician and the fool, you can see that the fool stands in a barren height, right, looking down over a precipice, whereas the magician is in a garden. Right. One is barren and desolate, which is the fool, and the magician is full of verdance and growth and beautiful, luscious vegetation around him. There's growth, it's alive. You can also see, if you're comparing the fool and the magician's tools are being used in this particular card, whereas the fool's tools are all in his wallet or at the back on his shoulder. So it's also the position of the magician's hands in the diagram. With his right hand, he lifts up a wand towards the sky, and his left makes a universal gesture of attention, pointing with the forefinger to the fertile earth at his feet. So, therefore, remember, this series is particularly about unlocking the potential of the tarot on a tool that we can use to improve ourselves in a certain way. So, the magician can be related to self-conscious awareness or the objective mind. This is the ordinary waking consciousness of human beings. It is the planning mind, the mind which comes to grips with our daily problems, and its function to its attention. Okay? So you can notice there's a keen sense of presence here in the magician, an alert watchfulness. It is a key idea in this particular picture. It's the representation of what a wise individual not just cultivates within oneself, but sees within their mind's eyes when they consider the mental function of concentration. So that is a key point to take if you were to truly understand the magician. This is a symbol of concentration, of focus. And this is a particular card that can help you tap into elements of concentration within yourself. Be alert and remember that all powers you can direct come from a higher level. And make it your first concern to relate yourself to that source of power. And you can see that the magician is someone who has mastered the elements and therefore can direct them in a certain way using his concentration in this case. And you can see that this pointing upwards and below can also be the ancient Hermetic axiom of as above, so below. That the magician has reached a state of synergy between the macrocosm and the microcosm, allowing divine will and energy to flow into him. Hence why the infinity sign above his head, where the crown center is, the crown chakra in yoga or in the Vedic tradition, is connected to the absolute infinite potentiality within himself, and is channeling it down through him. Right? He's a bridge between the heavens and the earth. In that way, a bridge that connects the heavens and the earth. And you can see that there's even a snake wrapped around his belly. Right? The snake that's biting its own tail, which is a very ancient symbol of, it's known as the Ouroboros. So it's a very ancient symbol, which could even represent time, right? Eternity. So you can see that on growing from above are beautiful roses. And you can see some roses below as well, along with some white lilies. So the white lilies can represent aspects of truth that is being discovered by the magician carrying out his magical work. And the red roses can symbolize the desires which are manifesting. So you can see that the magician may have thrown or sent out his will. And those desires that has been sent forth have now manifested in the form of truth, which would be the lessons that one can learn through mastery of oneself, the self-truths that are realized, self-realizations, as well as all those desires that tend to come to blossom as you fulfill this kind of work. And there are 5 roses, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that you can see in this picture. And they can be related to the 5 major senses. But it's to say that the fulfillment of human desires are experienced through the 5 senses. So the magician is a transformer and a transmuter of energy. As the magician acts as the bridge between the heavens and the earth, uses the 4 elements to mold, create, transform, and transmute that which is around him, and then uses these particular energies to create a different situation. So if you were to look at the tools in a completely different light that is related to 4 elements as well, you can even see that the 4 tools are not just external tools and the elements, but also internal faculties that are available to the magician. For example, the wand represents the fiery will of the magician, the ability of the magician to direct this energy into a certain way, the will to create, the will to do, and the will to direct. And the sword could represent the action that the magician must take in order to create and manifest its will. So for example, the sword represents the ability to cut something down and to recreate something. If we are to create something, something must first be destroyed. If we are to build a house, we need to cut down the trees in order to get the lumber, in order to build a house. Or same with the bricks, you need to take the stone or the gravel or the clay from the earth. The same way, if you're making a salad, you got to cut down, you got to pluck the vegetables from the ground. So if you are to create something, something must be destroyed, something must be. So it's the sword represents that action that the magician can take in order to create and manifest its will. The cup represents the imagination, which the magician exercises. The vision must first be seen clearly in the magician's mind's eye before it can take a manifested form in reality. And then finally, of course, the pentacle or the coin or the disc represents the earth, so that which is materially manifested, the actual manifestation of that which the magician is trying to create. After all, anything that we create is worth coin, is worth money in some way, whether it's a little bit or whether it's a large amount, it's worth something. So hence why the pentacle or the coin can represent this, but it's the physical representation of that thing that has now been manifested. So, concluding this video explanation of the magician is a picture and a symbol of concentration. And by focusing and meditating upon the magician for 5 minutes a day, you may begin to notice that you're able to focus more. You'll be able to hone your concentration and be better apt to deal with day-to-day problems and situations. So, focusing on the Fool and meditating on the Fool can bring about energy, and the magician can be used to hone your concentration so you're able to direct and focus that energy that you get from the Fool. And that is the secret to the magician. And meditating upon the magician for 5 minutes a day can bring about immense power through concentration. So, I hope that makes sense.
So, thank you for watching this video. And if you wish to see more information about the Fool card, which I created a few years ago, you can find the link above. And please stay tuned as we've got more tarot videos coming up. And please remember to click the subscribe button and the bell icon. Please like this video. Please share this video with anybody else you think will enjoy this content. So thank you, take care, and I shall see you very soon.